Hey guys, VSI here. Now, this of course is regarding the comments on my one of my latest videos that I uploaded not too long ago. And sadly, I won't have enough time to make all the videos I want today, but I'll make a few of them, of course. So it's just a couple comments, and these people, of course, seem like educated people. So I just wanted to talk about it for a moment here. Let's see. Let's get to the comments here. The first comment here, he says, I agree with you that most colleges or high schools in general don't teach what you really need for adult life. My HS did pretty good in those areas because the counselors were some of the best, but I wasn't taught how to properly interview. I was only taught what kind of characteristics I had. Funny thing that I learned was that I was right about traditional college versus trade schools. When I graduated from HS in 2011, I'm not downing traditional college, to be honest. Students with grand scholarship money, exception full ride, are still kind of in a nutshell. Therefore, it makes you think, why go to traditional college for 2 years, take 12,000 plus grand with only 1 year of work experience, bachelor's degree, 4 years, 32K plus 2 years work experience, master's degree, 5+ years, 47, 65K plus 3 years worth experience, and doctorate, full 8 years study, 65K plus 800K plus 4 years work experience. Exceptions to the above is a doctor, teacher, lawyer, counselor, certain concentration fields of business like accounting or finance. Real estate, not required. Nurse, but not required. You can learn that in some trade schools or almost any science field, including med science. So yeah, that was a bit of a paragraph there to read, but yeah, I agreed with them. And I just said, yeah, it's just become a political mess over time. They just really need to change the school system. Lots of laughs. And, like I've stated, I don't just tell people don't go to school, because the reason why I went back to regular school after getting, 4 years and a half of, homeschool is because if you're taking out of a regular school and you're homeschooled, and, this is just from personal experience, and it happens to a lot of people, where even if they're just fine and they went to homeschool, many people tend to assume that there's something wrong with you, and that's the reason why you're homeschooled, even to this day. People seem to think that lots of times. And so that's the reason why I went back to regular school. That, and I was also just getting really tired of being isolated from society, of course. But, so when I got through that high school, I showed people, hey, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just fine. I can do all the same things that you guys can do, etc. Moving on from that. And here's the next one here. He says, I agree with you, but I kind of already knew that before I left high school with the whole experience BS, and knew that you had to have connections to get a job. I did work, but got a back injury and took a hiatus. But when I tried to get back in the workforce of my old job, I found it to be a lot harder. So I did a different trade, which was carpentry. Everything I learned was self-taught. Even with that profession, the common excuse was that I needed experience, or that they told me to sign in and they'll give me a call, or which never came. Yeah. And whenever they tell you that they're going to call you, that's just a clear sign that they're not going to hire you. That's always the excuse that they give you when they aren't going to hire you. If you want to know for sure if somebody's going to hire you, one thing that they tend to do is show you the workplace. So just keep that in mind. If they're just telling you, oh, I'll give you a call, or I'll think about it, that means that they probably are not going to hire you, like 99% of the time. unless they're like desperate for workers or something. They are never going to hire you for whatever reason they're thinking. But that's just something to note. If they show you around the workplace after they give you an interview, that means that you at least have a chance to get, the job there and, get started. But he continues on. So just out of boredom, I started making adobes. Just out of pure boredom, and he says that again. And to my surprise, my adobes were strong enough to make structures. And lo and behold, I became an earth builder. It's the best profession I discovered because it's dirt cheap and you really just need to motive to work, or the motive to work, to make something. No experience needed. I still work in wood just to make some capital, but my breadwinner is earth building. I mean, yeah, this doesn't sound like a bad field. I mean, just whatever works with you is really what it comes down to it. If you're making money off of something or some capital, to, feed your family, feed yourself, and you're able to handle what you're doing with whatever you're doing, that's a good thing. Stick with that. Yo, what's good, Legends? Dude, you need to post a schedule for when you go live or something. I would do that, but my schedule is kind of weird like that, just so you know. But I otherwise would do that. I was thinking about doing some scheduled videos recently, but of course that didn't work out, as you can see. It is sad, but it's just how it is. And I answered back to him. I said, I would have done something like that myself, but didn't have the time actually. I knew some time before getting out of high school that I wasn't going to be prepared. So I halfway through senior year tried doing less school work, but I lived in the middle of nowhere, basically in a small town. And the homework situation was getting worse at the time. I still needed to get my homework done and everything and show that I was able to do high school work and be, a citizen of the United States. So there was that situation going on, and that was getting worse at the point. So I had to just keep up with that. And my father wasn't really that much help at the time either, etc. That's of course not the whole story, but that's, I would say, a very short version of the story in a nutshell of what was going on at the time. Even I knew at the time that I wasn't going to be prepared when I got out of high school, but at the same time, I needed to still do high school work to show that I'm a normal person like everybody else, and that I'm just fine. There's nothing wrong with me. And of course, I was having some issues with my father at the time. Of course, it's too personal to talk about, but in a nutshell, he wasn't really helping out much. He was kind of sticking to his guns to his, career at the time, which was a very busy schedule for him. And, of course, I don't blame him for that. Some of these jobs, especially some of these government, very successful jobs, are very demanding and very time consuming. And that's just how it is with jobs like that. And, that's the reason why I've talked about not getting into a career, is because of shit like that. When you are in a career, you don't have the time for anything. That is something that they're never going to tell you before you get into most careers, is that when you get into that career, you are going to have to be dedicated to that career. You aren't going to have much time to see your kids. You aren't. In some cases, in many cases, actually, you will get more time per year, per hours, put towards your vacation time. But, even when you're using that, you still aren't getting a lot of time to see your kids and family and such, and your wife, etc. That's if, of course, you're the person that wants to see them. I know some people don't really care to see their families, but I think you get the point. And that is something that they also don't teach you as you go through high school, is that, they just do not tell you many things as you're going through high school. It's just one big trap to sell you into going up to, college and using all of your money on something that you don't need to do. At least when it just comes to just simply getting a job anyway. There's many, it's funny because I'll see in many movies, they will make the excuse of, oh, I didn't go to college, so I wasn't able to get a job. And I'm just like, man, even when I went to college, didn't really even help. And then I had me and my dad had this debt to take care of. And then I just ended up going to a temp service to get experience. Because I just really wanted to move out of my house at the time. It's not like I couldn't have gone into welding, but I just really wanted to move out and just get experience, and just work out of my house. In fact, I was actually the first out of all of my cousins and brothers to move out of my parents' house successfully. Believe me, once I moved out of my parents' house, I stayed moved out, and I'm glad that I made that decision. To be frank, I don't really care that I didn't get into welding. That was just something to help me get experience, and I know if I tried sticking to welding, I would seriously regret staying with welding like that. I seriously would. I would much rather do something else than be a welder. But of course, moving on from that. So I'll just leave it at that, and I'll just go to my next video here. And like I said to this person in a comment here, I'm sorry that I haven't been able to make scheduled, videos, but my schedule is just crazy like that. I mean, recently, I wasn't even sure if I was even going to make videos today, to be honest. Like, my schedule has just been like that, especially during the holiday season. So maybe one day I'll be able to make a scheduled video for you guys, but I'd say most of the time that's probably not going to happen. I'm just going to be frank with you. And with that being said, I'll just, end this video here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.